This reminds me of my own classrooms. As a child, as a youngster, in high school, and it was always under stress, uncomfortable. One had to associate learning with work, with concentration, with paying attention, with homework. It's all work. But learning shouldn't be work. Learning should be excitement. Learning should be pleasure. And one should experience a constant sense of progression and learning, and one would want more. That is learning to me. And a teacher is somebody who will facilitate and show how to learn.
Every kid that likes baseball knows every batting average of every ball player and every statistic. You just know it effortlessly without putting in any effort. So it was with learning with Michel. You know, it was effortless.
Michel is a mentor. He is a person who believes as the teacher that he has the responsibility for your learning.
I said to Michel, Michel, either you're the biggest fraud that has ever walked the face of the earth, or alternatively, you are someone who's been associated with more miracles than anyone I have ever known.
He has a one-man language industry, but all he is concerned with is the art of communication.
To those that have learnt with him, Michel Thomas is the greatest teacher in the world. He runs a small number of highly exclusive language schools in the United States, but what goes on in their classrooms is a closely guarded secret. He claims to have completely removed the effort from learning. No reading, writing, or any form of homework, just listening and talking. Years of work apparently reduced to just days. And after teaching for over 50 years, he now has a very select group of clients.
Michel claimed that he could teach me French, you know, over a weekend, in 3 days or so. And I thought, you know, why not? This was years ago. It was a very nominal fee. And I feel, what have I got to lose? You know, either the guy's crazy and I lose a couple $100, you know, or it's some kind of miracle. So I gave it a try, and he was, you know, amazing.
Michel has agreed to come to London, to the City and Islington Sixth Form Centre, to demonstrate for the first time ever the techniques he uses to produce his apparently miraculous results. He promises that with his method of teaching, even the most ordinary student can acquire in just days a depth of knowledge of a language that would normally take years to learn. Checking up on what Michel manages to achieve will be head of French at the school, Margaret Thompson.
I think there are different aptitudes for languages, yes. And I think it requires quite a lot of things, like attention to detail, that kids really don't want to be bothered with. Languages, and I'm talking more now about, languages generally, the way they're taught at the moment, require a lot of hard graft and a lot of attention to detail, a lot of repetition, a lot of things that students find boring.
Michel doesn't believe in the concept of an aptitude for learning or being a good student, only good and bad teaching.
Hello.
But the pupils he has been given, who all volunteered for this experiment, would by most standards be classed as academically very average. What they've been promised is 5 solid days with Michel in the classroom and the most astonishing educational experience of their lives.
I'm very pleased to meet you, and I'm looking forward to teaching you today. But under better physical conditions, because I don't think that where you're sitting is very comfortable. I would like you to feel comfortable. So we're going to rearrange everything here.
As there is no reading or writing in his lessons, there's no need for desks or a blackboard. For Michel, no one can really learn unless anything that causes stress is removed from the experience. It's the driving force that informs every aspect of his teaching.
Before starting, I'm going to set up a very important rule, a very important ground rule. And that rule is for you never to worry about remembering. Never to worry about remembering anything, and therefore not to try. Never to try to remember anything from one moment to the next. This is a method with a responsibility for your remembering and for learning, isn't it, teaching? So if at any point there's something you don't remember, this is not your problem. It will be up to me to know why you don't remember individually and what to do about it.
All these students are doing vocational qualifications because they don't like exams. Paula has studied some Italian before but is completely new to French. Darmender failed his Spanish GCSE. He has never studied French before today. Abdul tried German but failed his GCSE late last year. And Anthony tried French for just a few years before giving up.
Be comfortable, I want you to relax.
Maria and Satvinder have both tried and failed their French GCSEs. And Emily was told by her French teacher at school to give up because she had no talent for languages whatsoever.
Words in English ending in IBLE, like possible. And in ABLE, like table. They all come from French, and they're the same. They have the same spelling, the same meaning, except for the pronunciation, IBLE in French is pronounced ib, like possible would be possible. And ABLE, because the letter A is pronounced A, ABLE is pronounced able, like table would be table. Acceptable would be accept. Yes, come on.
Acceptable.
Yes. Acceptable. Yes. Yes. And comfortable would be comfort. What's more?
Comfortable.
Comfort. Right. Say it again. Comfortable. Comfortable. Mm-hmm. Yes. Have you ever heard the expression c'est la vie? No? Mm-hmm. C'est means it is. It is spelled C''est. C'est means it is. How you spell say?
Say.
C''est. C''est. Once more?
C''est.
Right. What was table? Table. Comfortable? Comfortable. It is comfortable?
Exactly.
Say?
C'est confortable.
Say it again. It is?
C'est.
No. Once more. It is?
C'est confortable.
Yes. So once more. It is?
C'est confortable.
C'est confortable. Yes. I will dissect everything yes, into small parts and reassemble it in such a way that one will understand everything step by step. That understanding, to learn and to know how to apply it in a practical way, in putting it into sentences and more complex sentences, and expressing one's own thoughts, and not in memorized phrases. That is important. Will you speak French with me?
Voulez-vous
Once more?
Voulez-vous
Right.
Voulez-vous
No, vous like in voodoo. It's vous, voodoo.
Okay. Voulez-vous
Right, speak French
parler français
with me.
pour moi?
Not for me.
Oh, sorry, avec moi.
Avec moi. Mm-hmm. Yes. How would you say, will you go eat with me?
Voulez-vous
Once more?
Voulez-vous
Right, go,
aller
eat
manger
with me.
avec moi?
Right. Mm-hmm. Learning has to be knowledge, and learning has to be based on understanding. And what you understand, you can absorb, internalize, and becomes knowledge. What you know, you don't forget. You can block something what you know, but not forget. Words in English ending in ENT and ANT come from French, and they're the same. ENT and ANT is pronounced ang at the end. Like restaurant would be restaurant. You do not sound the T. So again, what is restaurant?
The restaurant. Restaurant.
You always stress the ending softly. French ears are tuned into endings. So how would you say restaurant?
Restaurant.
Well, I only...
How do you pronounce it? Could you tell me?
That's what I want you to do. The stress should be on the ending, not on resto.
Restaurant.
Right, yes. So always
Restaurant.
hit the ending, yes? Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Little better. Make it better.
Restaurant.
Yes.
Restaurant.
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 Margaret would like to get into the classroom to see Michel at work.
Thank you.
But I mean, the idea of it being intensive like this is...
But it is not the intensity of the program that produces the results. It's a method.
I just, you know, I want to see how these students perform after 1 week. I think it'd be fascinating. And I just wondered if I could see any part of your teaching.
That will be difficult.
Will it be?
Yeah, because already with interruptions we have had with the...
Yeah. Is it really?
Yes.
I sit very quietly at the back.
Even so, they feel that...
Do they feel inhibited?
Yes, maybe at the end.
At the
yes.
end?
Yeah.
All right. What, are you here till Friday?
On Friday.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'd really like to do that.
Okay. It is very important for you when you walk out, yes, not to practice, not to try to remember, not to review mentally, and not to test yourself and say, no, let me see what I can remember. It's very important to leave it alone. Please, s'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît. So once more, not so fast, please, would be?
Pas
So fast.
si vite.
Si vite.
Si vite.
Si vite.
S'il vous plaît.
Right, pas si vite, s'il vous plaît. So once more, what is to speak? Parler. You speak.
Parler.
Vous parlez. You speak too fast for me.
Vous parlez trop
Trop, yes?
pour moi.
Oh, that you just said you speak too much.
Ah.
No, too fast. Vous
Vous
speak
parlez
too fast. Vous parlez
trop
Trop.
trop vite.
trop...
Vite.
No, vite, 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 vite.
Trop vite
Trop vite.
pour moi.
Right, vous parlez trop vite pour moi.
Vous parlez trop vite.
Will you or do you want?
Voulez-vous?
Voulez-vous? How do you spell voulez-vous?
V-O-U-S.
L, ending?
E-A-Z.
Well, it goes here with...
E-Z.
Right, very good. How would you say you want?
Vous voulez.
Thank you. Vous voulez. To begin, to start, or to commence is commencer. Ending?
ER.
ER. You start, you are starting.
Vous commencez.
Ending?
EZ.
Do you start or are you starting? Question mark.
Commencez-vous?
Commencez-vous ending?
Z.
Once more?
Z. Commencez-vous?
The commencer and ending in commencer?
EZ.
EZ hyphen VOUS.
It's been 9 solid hours of lessons with just 1 short break for lunch. They can expect exactly the same over the next 4 days.
Do you think he's a good teacher?
Oh, amazing. I think it's great. Yeah, no books, no notes, nothing.
It's different
than
the
English
teachers in
this
country, definitely.
And it's better than a dictionary, actually. He is, because it's like, something like, he explained something like, what was it? A verb, okay. At school, we were taught a verb was a doing word, right? To him, it's not a doing word.
It's the word with a two.
You know, it's to have, you know, then you know that it's a verb after the word to, so.
To have, to work, to paint, to leave, to whatever.
I just kept on like thinking of words which I wasn't meant to, so I thought, nah, I better not think of it in case when it comes to Monday he's gonna know, because he seems to can read people's minds.
Like he's telepathic somewhere. He can read everyone's mind. He can read everyone's mind. And then he starts saying things like, don't pick words from the wave, you know, from whatever, from the wave and everything. Yeah, and you just tell yourself, no, he knows what I'm gonna say next, you know.
Like when he talks to you and asks you a question, it's like he's looking into you and I don't know, he knows what you're thinking inside, you know.
It is almost technically impossible to lie to Michel Thomas. He may not detect what the truth is, but he will know when he's not being given it.
At 1:30 in the morning.
Michel Thomas learnt his skills as a communicator during the Second World War, which was one of the most remarkable periods of his life.
He extracted a great deal of information from former SS and Wehrmacht officers and was responsible for securing some top-secret German documents which were invaluable at the subsequent trials.
Death sentences at Dachau, the Nazi killers of Mauthausen concentration camp.
Taken concurring, sentences you to death by hanging at such time and place as higher authority may direct.
Michel had first-hand experience of fascism growing up in Germany, and he escaped to France at the start of the war. He fought with the French resistance, but with the liberation of France in 1944, he joined the American Army Counterintelligence Corps. His knowledge of at least 7 languages meant a move into interrogation. He became well known for his ability to extract information from the most difficult prisoners, without resorting to violence. In April 1945, he recorded his experience of liberating the concentration camp at Dachau. His job whilst there was to extract from the head of the crematorium exact details of the atrocities committed at the camp.
What we fought against during World War II, the evils we fought against, was defeated, at least temporarily defeated or militarily defeated, if not more than that. But we not only fought against something, against the evil, but we fought for dignity, for freedom, for freedom of all of it, meaning for a solid, healthy sense of democracy and free society. And I felt that that can only be achieved and maintained through a good, strong education, through a good, strong educational system. Because without it, one will always be vulnerable to any attack, or to be swept away, like what happened 60 years ago, whatever.
Within a few years of the end of the war, Thomas left for the United States and began a very successful career as a teacher to the stars.
My place became a place for actors, actresses, producers, directors, writers, who is who in Hollywood.
Michel Thomas was a man who taught Grace Kelly French, and the French director Francois Truffaut came to Hollywood to learn English. It costs £10,000 one-on-one, and movie stars were the guinea pigs for his techniques. He worked with Yves Montand on the set of Let's Make Love.
Yves Montand had no background in his own language, in French, because, as he told me, he grew up in the slums of Marseille and had very poor educational background and had no idea about French grammar. Yes. And all he was able to, he thought he knew what the present tense is and the future tense and the past tense, because he associated present with now. Whatever happens now is in the present, and whatever happens tomorrow is the future, and whatever happened yesterday is the past. I couldn't get out of the simple tenses into other tenses, and the only way I was able to do it by associating each tense with a different motion, different movement. And now he could react in French and in English to those different movements. Yes. And this is how he was able to learn how to use structure and tense and all the tenses in French, and at the same time in English. Right, Pasque. Yes. So once more, because?
Pasque.
Pasque. Once more?
Pasque.
Pasque. Ce n'est pas, it is not. Pas, not. All those movements only happen in the beginning to lead them into it, and that all stops. Because it is important to be, not to be dependent on movement or dependent on any teacher.
Combien
De
temps?
Right, combien de temps? How long can you stay here?
Combien de temps?
Yes, combien de temps can you?
Pouvoir. Pouvez. Pouvez-vous.
Can you?
Pouvez-vous.
Right. Stay
Rester.
here.
Ici.
Right.
Michel went into this language, drew out of it its essential components and their relationship to each other in some kind of way that allowed him to simplify the whole thing, and then an ability to put it back all together again in a way that allowed others to enter the language.
À quelle heure commencez-vous?
Right. À quelle heure commencez-vous? À quelle heure commencez-vous?
I felt that if a structure of educational interaction between the teacher and the pupil was along the lines that Michel had, because he had really made what was a psychological breakthrough. He had made a breakthrough so you were unblocked and free to learn. And so I felt sure one could, utilizing that kind of method, anything became more pleasurable to learn.
The ones who should have gotten this are not the movie stars who are going to be on site in Paris or going down to Mexico for a couple of weeks. They're not the ones who should benefit from an instructional method of this degree of power. The young people should.
Michel always felt that his approach was universal, that it could apply to more than just a wealthy elite. In the late 60s, just a few miles from Hollywood, this Los Angeles school put his method to the test.
If I think of a situation like in Watts, where I had a high school, junior high school, with young people who were kept in by police patrol and parent patrol. I wanted to demonstrate, to show what can be done in teaching, even under the worst of circumstances, the worst conditions, and those were the worst conditions.
In South Central Los Angeles, this school had become ungovernable. Michel offered to come in and teach. Michael Fay, a former teacher at the school, has returned for the first time in almost 30 years.
You know, Martin Luther King spoke there one time.
Is that right?
Yeah. As time went by and the conversations went on, I finally agreed to organize a class for Michel, basically so we could prove him wrong. That is, okay, Michel, we'll get you a class, you can do your thing, and you'll be sorry. He carried on for about 4 weeks, and then he asked us to come in and listen to a demonstration, which we did. We had myself, the principal, and some other people come in. And sure enough, these children were somewhat proficient in the French language. They were speaking to each other in French. They understood what each other was saying. It was remarkable, absolutely remarkable. Michel, you were right and I was wrong. You did a fine job. Thank you.
Thomas spent the next few years trying to get approval for his method from various universities in the United States. They were always very impressed, but rarely gave him the credit he felt he deserved.
During that time period, whenever I demonstrated successfully how one can learn a language in a matter of a few days, they always said that it cannot be replicated and that that's only a course that only can be done by Michel Thomas, but this is a question of personality or charisma or whatever they may have called it. Yes. But they said this is unique and cannot be replicated, therefore it will not have a permanent value.
Michel is convinced his spectacular results will have a lasting value because of his methodology, the unique ways he feels he has found to break down the grammar and structure of a language so it is easily understood and learned.
Where it is.
Où c'est?
Right. Pouvez-vous me dire où c'est? Because I cannot find it.
Parce
I cannot.
peux pas.
Once more?
Je ne peux pas.
Find it. To find is
Trouver.
so I cannot find it.
Trouver c'est.
Once more?
Trouver. Le
Once more.
trouver.
What?
An example he is prepared to share is the way he teaches pronouns, words that replace things with a name, words like it, him, and me. Knowing them is fundamental to using a language properly, and being able to put them in the right part of a sentence usually means the student has done a great deal of hard work. It is something Michel tackles after a few days.
Can you? Right. To do in French is faire. Yes. To remember fair, I will say, well, it's a fair thing to do. Yes. It's very fair. To do it, to make is very fair.
Pouvez-vous
Come.
venir
See it?
la voir
With me.
avec moi?
To do it, le faire. Yes. I don't see anything but that le means it, that the pronoun comes before the infinitive. Yes. Nothing. I just say faire to do, le faire to do it. That's all. Then immediately I will go into it and say, well, so how would you say, I would like to do it? You know, je voudrais, I would like. I would like to do it, je voudrais le faire. I would like to know at what time you're going to be here, because I want to see you. Now, le faire is already something which is very natural, very common to them, yes? So they will know now the difference between to do faire and to do it le faire. Now I start replacing the verb. To see?
Voir.
To see, right. So if to see is voir, and say, well, how would you say now? I would to see it. Some students will then, most of them will immediately say le voir, yes? Yes. And some may not say immediately le voir. Then I will go back to what is to do, faire. And to do it, they will say le faire. Okay, now I go to le voir, to see it. Ah, le voir. Yes. They all get it.
No, je le voir.
So once more.
Je
I would
le
like
vois.
once more. I would like to see it.
Je voudrais le voir.
Right. Je voudrais le voir. Le voir also means to see him. So I'm going to see him tonight. How would you say it? They will say je vais. I'm going to see him. Le voir ce soir. So now they know voir is to see. Le voir is to see it or to see him. And la is her. Now I will say, how would you say, I would like to see her. Automatically they will say, je voudrais la voir. To see you.
Vous.
See.
Vous le voir.
Okay, what is to see?
Vous voir.
Right, yes. So again, I would like to see you once more.
Je voudrais vous voir.
Right, je voudrais vous voir. Now they can say, I would like to see you, je voudrais vous voir. It will never occur to them to say, I would like to see, je voudrais voir you, vous. No, never. She will never say, I would like to see, like in English, I would like to see you. Je voudrais voir vous. It will never occur to them. It cannot. It is set, mentally set, clearly, solidly.
It's just all lodged up here. I go home and I'm sitting there and these things just popping in my head from the class from the day, from when we've been sitting in there all day. It sticks up here. It does. Don't have to remember it, it's just there.
He might ask somebody, you know, how do you say this in French? One person will say it, and you look at him as though to kind of confirm it with him. But he won't say anything. He wants you to be sure within yourself whether you're saying it right or not.
Yeah, like yesterday, we had to say something, and one of us says it, and then he goes to Daminda, do you think that's right? So he says the same thing, and we're all agreeing on the same thing, and we're like, yeah,
And he asks
it's that.
everybody individually, and then
he
we all
sits
agree on the
there,
same thing.
and then he goes, you're right, and then he just goes, it's like, did you have to make us go through all of that
And
torture?
he commends us for working together and getting it right.
We saw something would be.
It takes Michel 8 months to dissect the complete structure of a language and find a way to teach it so it is effortless to learn. But his unique analysis is something he has refused to share, and he has never written anything down.
Comprendre and understood.
His legacy, he decided, was to be his tape course. The vast majority of Michel's students never meet him. They learn their choice of language by listening to his voice through headphones. Again, there's no homework. The tapes do it for them. Exactly how and why they work, only Michel knows.
We want. No queremos esperarte.
Esperarte.
However, the tapes are never to be listened to outside of his schools. But for this week, the student's form teacher, Gina Barr, has been listening and learning Spanish with Thomas.
I love the way he breaks the language down and just builds it up again, and you can just see it. I can just see the words, and I can see how they change in different tenses and as according to who's speaking. No queremos. I know I don't have to worry because I know it's going to come up again, and I'm sure for the rest of my life I'll hear Michel saying some of these words.
To his supporters, his tapes are evidence enough that he has developed a teaching technique of enormous value.
I believe that Michel's method should be examined in a more structured fashion. I don't think that we need test trials of 10 years to come up with any findings about the fact that it works. But it is very important to have real-life trials, real-life control groups, and let's look at it. Let's look at it more rigorously now, so that it will get the credibility that it's due, it will get the diffusion in the teaching profession that it deserves, and it will get the understanding of all people who look at it about what learning's all about.
But when the opportunity arose for Michel to open up to an enthusiastic audience at the University of California, he would still only give a demonstration that his method worked.
I was Dean of Humanities at the time that I met Michel and had the experience of working with him for about 30 hours, about 2.5 days of work. And I was entirely persuaded at the end of these 30 hours that this was a remarkable experience. And so I was enthusiastically supportive, and I exerted some modest influence within the Division of Humanities, where something like 80 languages are taught. And Michel came out, and we had a meeting in the college offices, and it was a fiasco. it just really did not go well. They asked Michel, okay, provide us with some examples of what you do so that we can assess whether you're doing anything differently than we're doing, and what is this miraculous method? And he's not prepared to come up with anything.
I didn't do it inside of a university. Whatever I did was independent. I did it independently, completely, totally independently. and just to give it for them to approve or to disapprove, yes, and to depend on what they feel they can take out of it, yes, is not right.
I believe Michel's protectiveness towards his program and his reluctance, if you will, to sort of just spill it out there and get it out there in the rest of the world is based on a realistic fear of what a commercial entity might do or not do, both in terms of distorting his methodology and or maybe even stealing his ideas. And I think that's partially well-founded, but he's got to get over that if we're going to have a legacy.
I don't have any reason to trust anybody who says, look, give me what you have so that we can study it, and then we will tell you what we think about it. No, I want to show them what is achieved, what can be done. Yes. Otherwise, I will only encourage plagiarism, and this goes against my principles.
When you develop an idea in the academic world, the very first thing you think of doing is sharing it with others. If the idea has to do with an instructional method, well, then you put the method forward for evaluation by your colleagues, by those who are experienced and knowledgeable and who can evaluate it, with the possibility that it will be found acceptable, and then it will spread and everyone will benefit from it. And Michel, for whatever his motivation, has kept this method and idea to himself.
It is the end of the week, and Margaret Thompson has been granted her wish to watch Michel and judge the students' progress for herself.
So, again, how would you say, when will you arrive? You have a choice.
Quand allez-vous arriver?
Right. Or the...
Quand arriverez-vous?
Right. Good. It is very important for me.
C'est très important.
C'est très important for me.
Pour moi.
C'est très important pour moi, because I would like to see you.
Parce que je voudrais
To see you.
vous voir.
Right. Je voudrais vous voir. I would like to know.
Je voudrais
To know.
savoir.
Once more. To know.
Savoir.
Right. Je voudrais savoir if you want.
C'est vous.
Once more.
Si vous voulez.
Right. So if you want to go see it with me.
Allez.
The whole thing. If you want.
Si vous voulez.
Voulez ending. Vous voulez.
EZ.
Right. So if you want to go see it with me. See.
Voir.
If you want again. See.
Si vous voulez.
Go.
Allez.
Allez. Ending. Allez.
Yeah.
See it.
Voir.
Once more.
Le voir.
Le voir with me
Avec moi.
tonight.
Ce soir.
Right. At what time are you going to be here?
À quelle heure?
Are you going? Are you going
Allez-vous
to be
être
here?
ici?
Yes.
Well, it was very impressive. Very impressive. I think as one of the students themselves say, they learned in 1 week what they learn in 5 years. And interestingly, one of the girls said, after 5 years in school, my French teacher said, I think you better give up because there's no way you're going to succeed. And here she said, I've just managed it fine. I feel as if I understand it. So I'm interested to know, really, about how you found, first of all, how you found the experience, and how much you think you've learned. Now, it's always difficult to answer that question, but...
Good. Very good. Better than the teachers.
Why is it better? Why is it very different? Why is it different?
Because he explains himself. He doesn't make you feel lost. If you're stuck on a word, he'll just take you right back to the beginning. Like if he was a baby saying ABC, he'll just take you right back, and then you just actually like click and you know what you're saying then.
We say it in English first, and then we sort of break it down. Then we'll think, well, this is how you translate it back into the language. And then it's easier that way. Whereas just in our normal classes, we're just told to say something and remember that. Yeah. But this is like broken to pieces, and each piece we remember, and we use each piece for our next sentence, and it's just really easy that way.
He doesn't throw things at you, you know, this is that and this is that. He's kind of like made the structure into such a way that you go by it, and once you've got the ingredients, like you can cook what you want.
But you haven't done any writing at all, have you? No. You haven't seen any French written at all. So
you're not writing down no notes. If you don't take it in now, you're never going to get it right.
You're never going to get it.
So you have to concentrate.
You've just got patience. You've got all the time in the world. You know, you have to really, you can like think about it. Just sit back, think about it. And it's like it's just coming through your mind, because your mind is relaxed and you know that he's just said patience. And you're like, okay, I will be patient, okay? I'm going to take my time and I'm going to think about it. And it just comes out.
The revelation is that it's the learning process itself that motivates these kids. The mastery of the structure, the mastery of part of the language is the thing that keeps them going and keeps them enthusiastic. And we lose sight of that in the way we teach. We think we capture their interest by finding them interesting materials that are supposedly related to their interests outside in the world, generally. And maybe we miss the point. And I think he's probably onto something very important here.
I don't want what I have created throughout the years to just disappear in the sand. But the value of it to be recognized and used wherever it can be. For that, I have to make it available. I hope I will succeed before it is too late.
With this programme being the first public explanation of any of his methods, time would appear to be running out.